Hi guys, Viking Reefing here. It's tank update time. There has been some new developments going on in my tank and I thought I would walk you through them. So firstly, I've been dealing with some sort of a kind of brownish sandbed for a bit, which is kind of ironic because I just released a video speaking about how to maintain a very white sandbed. So that was a bit of a head scratcher. I tested my parameters firstly to see if there was anything that was off with my nutrients, if I had some sort of a silicates or something like that. I couldn't find anything that would point to anything like that. I did detect some silicates, but that could most likely be attributed to the ceramics probably still leaching some small trace amounts, not enough to cause any issues. So I was really stumped. But after, let's say, another week or so, I started noticing that my corals were progressively getting browner, losing their vibrant colors. And I started thinking that, these two things, combined with the fact that I also saw some more film algae on the front glass than usual, led me to believe that there was some sort of a nutrient issue going on in the tank. My test kits told me that I was around like 8 in nitrates and 0.04 in phosphates, which is just where I like them. But I figured that I'll just send out an ICP test anyways, just to confirm that there's nothing going on. Lo and behold, my nitrates came back over 30, which is way too high for my taste at least. Turns out that my nitrate test had gone bad for whatever reason. It was a Salford test kit, and it had about 1 more year or something before its supposedly expiring date. But yeah, something was off with it, so the issue was due to high nutrients. The ironic thing was that I thought I had like 5 or 6 at some point in terms of nitrates, so I was actually dosing nitrates to get those up, but it kind of just didn't show anything above 8. It just got stuck there for whatever reason. So that was kind of a stupid problem to have. To remedy this, I increased the photo period over my refugium. It's normally about 11 hours, 10-11 hours or so, but I gradually increased that up to 20 hours. I also added more sealant media just to pull out even more nitrates. And those things, in combination with one more thing that I'll be talking about later on in the video, has brought my nitrates down to around 10, I believe. I got a new test kit as well, so I'm fairly confident that they're around 10 or so. And I can see that the sand stays whiter a heck of a lot longer now than it did before. I could do a very thorough clean of it, and it was brown the next day, which was really annoying. So that really goes to show you how important having the proper nutrients is to keep a clean tank. In terms of other stuff that's been going on, you probably saw the video where I received 6 very large mariculture colonies from coral gardens. I have them sitting down here just to light acclimatize. After about a week or so, I moved them down over here on the bottom as well, just for them to get some more light. And after yet another week, I snapped off all those horrible cement plates that were standing on, and I glued them to the rockwork. I'm happy to report that they're all doing very well, and I'll get some close-ups for you later once we pan around the tank. Gluing big colonies is always a real pain. I like super glue the best, basically, for gluing corals. Epoxy is really something I don't like working with. It gets very messy and it's generally hard to attach. But I find that when you're dealing with very big colonies, Super glue just won't cut it, so you need a combination of super glue and epoxy. So what you do is you take a colony, you put a dab of super glue on that, you have a ball of epoxy, you push it on the coral, and then you put more super glue on the bottom and then just press it into the rockwork and hold it there for a couple of minutes. That usually works, and you can even mount them in an angle. So after a lot of swearing and a lot of super glue and epoxy, they were finally glued to the rockwork, which was a major relief. I'm not sure how well you can see it now, you'll see it better later, but there's a very big bare spot here on my sand bed. That's something that drives me nuts to see those bare spots. I think it looks ugly as hell, but there's a reason why it's looking like that. I've been noticing for the past couple of weeks that I've had some kind of bad polyp extension, and I've seen some STN around the bases of a couple of colonies. Once when I really looked in and saw the placement of those corals that had the issues, I could tell that it was a lack of flow basically that's doing it. That's pretty ironic as well, because I got the 4 MP40s just a couple of months ago just to remedy this problem. The thing was, once I placed the MP40s here, all the corals got a massive more amounts of flow. They were really happy, which kicked off a growth spurt. The additional growth has made it so that they're now blocking even more flow. So I will have to be adding some more pumps to this tank in a relatively short order. But to remedy this in the short term, I've changed up my flow schedule, so the MP40s are now really crashing together to create as much turbulent flow as possible throughout the tank. That has the downside of all that turbulence pushing water down and sweeping the sand bed away. Looks crappy as hell, but it's a cheap price to pay to keep the corals happy. The most probable candidates for me will either be some more MP40s on the back wall. That generally looks very slick, but I think the most likely option is some Neros. Probably not the new Nero 7s. They're probably too powerful if I mount them on the back, and the flow will just slam against the front glass, go down and just push all that sand just back, and yeah, I'll end up with the same issue. So what I'm thinking is 3 Nero 5s on the Ocean Motions engines, because then I get even more flow, and I can keep it very random as well. So I think that's probably the best option. The CJ pumps are very good pumps. Can't knock them whatsoever. Very low power draw and fairly powerful for the compact package and low power draw. But for this size of tank, now that my corals are going in, I simply don't think that they're powerful enough. I'll definitely find some uses for them. Since I have 3, I'll probably use 1 in my quarantine tank and a couple of them in some strategic places around the sump. I also increased my return pump. My return pump is a Red Dragon, what is it? 100. Never mind. It's a Red Dragon, and it has a maximum output of 13,000 liters per hour. So I've increased that as well. The downside to that is that the random flow nozzles on my lock lines here, they are now sucking air intermittently, which creates some microbubbles throughout the tank. But again, cheap price to pay for some extra flow to keep my corals happy. The Moorish Idol is still doing very well. You can see in here. Focus. There's still some aggression from the Achilles. So you can see here on his back fin, it's a little bit nipped, but it grows back basically at the same rate as it's getting damaged, and it's not getting any, it's only getting superficial damage. I'm not too worried about it. It's eating very well. It started feeding on algae from the algae clip just a couple of days ago, so that will be a huge boon for its future development as well, since they really do require a lot of algae in their diet. I'm not sure what the heck it's doing. It's still a little bit thin, so I really wanted to fatten up as well, which the nori definitely will be helpful in. Let's have a look at the new corals. Here's the one of the tenuous right here. As you can see, they have lost some of their vibrant colors. Usually happens with mariculture colonies. They will be coloring right back up in between 2 to 6 months. Here's the sunset millie back here, also doing very well. Moving on. Not entirely sure what this is. Might be a vermiculata or something like that. Not entirely sure. It has lost its blue tips, but I'm sure they'll return shortly. Here's another tenuous, which has very good polyp extension. That's nice to see. Kind of blocking here. A red millipora. This was kind of a bad purchase on my part. I didn't really look closely enough on the video that they sent me, and I think I have quite a similar one right here, so might have a double of that one. And the piece that I'm most excited about is this one. This is a Walt Disney. Kind of brown now. Again, will color back up, but it's doing very well. Has decent polyp extension. I think something just nipped it, so it's a little bit closed off at the moment. For example, here you can see this millipora. See the amount of growth tips that there's on it. This is one of the offending parties that's really blocking flow to the other corals. I'll probably be fragging this in fairly short order, just to say, for example, this Pikachu. You can see here on the left hand side of the base there's some STN, so I think that's a visual issue. It's probably getting blocked. The lighting is getting blocked by this branch, and the flow is probably also not all that great. I believe this is a home wrecker back here that STN'd on me for some reason, never figured out why. I generally keep corals for about 1 to 2 months after they've most likely died, because some actually do recover, but this is definitely a goner, so I'll get that out of there, just so I don't have to watch my shame, as it were. I lose corals as well, constantly. Now let's have a look at some tech. I added something that I've been waiting for a very long time, probably about 2 years or something, around that. So let's give it a look. Apparently the battery of my microphone died while I was shooting, so that was kind of disappointing when I was reviewing the footage. But anyways, this is the GHL Maxi Doser 2.2. I use this for automatic water changes, and this thing is a beast. Look at it compared to the standard GHL doser. So these are the input and output lines. I will be doing something completely different in terms of the tubing. So this is very haphazardly. I've just put them up here for now, as you can tell by the duct tape. What I will do is that I will have the water that draws from the sump, it will be going into my quarantine, which I will be drilling to add an overflow pipe. The benefit of that is that I will no longer be having to do manual water changes on my QT tank, which will be a huge quality of life improvement. I change out 10 liters of water daily in 5 increments. And a water change takes about, I believe it's 3 or 4 minutes or something per increment. And you can see here, I ran the tubes in the ceiling, very ugly as it is now. Here's the output line currently. It just goes into my utility sink. And the pump draws from these big trash cans where I have my mixing station. As you can see here, I have a gyre as a mixing pump, which might look kind of weird. But this is a J-bow clone of a gyre. Don't buy one of these. This is basically the worst crap I've ever tried. It's so freaking loud that it's ridiculous. The only thing it's good for is mixing up salt water. And it can handle that like a beast. But yeah. I've also started experimenting with dosing bacteria. I haven't been a big proponent of bacteria dosing in the past, but I figured why not give it a try. I'm using both a very large UV sterilizer and ozone on this tank, and whilst I don't believe that there's an actual issue with killing off a bunch of beneficial bacteria, because I don't think that primarily lives in the water column, more or less just on surfaces, but I'm thinking that over time I might strip out some beneficial bacteria, so I'm dosing this once a week per the instructions, just to add some more bacteria to the tank. Let's try to lip sync this. Alright guys, I think that's all I've got for you today. Be safe, thanks for watching, happy reefing, and have a good one. Bye.